It's Christmas. Our doors will be open, hopefully, and I hope a lot of other people in town, in the area, have their doors open for these people that are going to be destituted.
Well, Larry, stay safe. Thank you for speaking with us. And Larry was explaining to me how the fire around midnight was when they noticed it burning in their neighborhood, that it ripped down the hills right here. You can see properties smoldering on top of those hills.
Our doors will be open
here, lighting the homes and some of these apartment complexes on fire, where this active firefight is going on as we speak. And you can hear some of the stories of those affected from those like Larry. We are going to continue to monitor the very latest. For now, though, Chris and Megan, I will send it back to you.
All right, Lauren, thank you. We'll be checking back with you momentarily. Next, let's go ahead and bring in we have a phone interview, someone on the line. He is Fire Chief Sam DiGiovanna of the Verdugo Fire Training Center. Sam, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Can you give us an idea? We're talking about two different areas, two major fires. With these wind conditions, what are these firefighters up against, Sam?
Well, they're up against a lot, and you just hit it. You said there's two right now, and as Henry said, the winds are supposed to increase. If another fire breaks out, each time a fire breaks out, resources get depleted, whether aircraft or engines or strike teams. So the availability gets reduced and makes the job even tougher when you don't have the support you need.
Absolutely. And talk a little bit about priorities, how firefighters determine what areas they're going to be in. Obviously, homes are a concern, people are a concern, but the most difficult part, I think, about the situation, A, is the wind right now, but B, it's also how these fires are really spread out. And I know we're getting a lot of tweets from people who are saying, you know what, there's not a firefighter in sight, and it really just has to do with the lack of resources.
Yes, you have so many resources. I know in the Verdugo area where I work, we sent 15 engines already, Orange County, and they do have other resources coming in from other areas. That's part of the California Master Mutual Aid Plan. And how they prioritize, it's up to the incident commander, the strike team leaders. If they feel they can defend those homes and protect them, they will. If they feel that maybe the vegetation is too much around the homes and it will probably be a loss, they're not going to risk their lives. They got to move on and go to somewhere where it's savable.
And when you see what we're seeing, it sounds like you've been paying attention to the visuals as well. Is this the kind of thing that we can expect to get worse before it gets better?
Yes, with the wind conditions the way they are supposed to pick up, absolutely. This is a wind-driven fire. Even though it's cold, that doesn't matter. The fuel moisture content is very low. It is normal to get these winds in December, but normally we get precipitation this time of year that increases the fuel moisture content. We haven't had the rain. You need a good 5, 6, 7 inches of rain to increase your fuel moisture so this doesn't happen. It's just bone dry out there. So now you have the wind, topography, thick vegetation from the rains last year. So, they're against all odds. That's what the firefighters are up against.
Absolutely. We have seen quite a few pictures this morning of the firefighters in action. Talk a little bit about how they work. Are they always in pairs? We've seen quite a few pictures of two firefighters together at a time.
Yes, usually that's what's called a strike team. 5 same type units, whether type 1 engines, the normal fire engines you see on the streets, or type 3, the smaller brush rigs. Those are called strike teams, and they have a leader with them. And they're mobilized and deployed to do structure protection where they're assigned, and they do. They work in pairs, and, it's a little iffy. Sometimes you can't tie into a hydrant because you have to stay mobile. If the fire starts overrunning you and your engine's hooked up to a hydrant, you have to cut the line and run. So there's 500 gallons of water in those trucks. So you use it sparingly, work close together, and sometimes you can tap into hydrants if you're in a safe place, but when you have a lot of engines tapping in hydrants, you start losing water pressure in the area.
And Fire Chief, can you talk about the importance of listening to a mandatory evacuation? Because a lot of people, they feel like they can manage the situation, and they don't want to lose the possessions and all the things that they've worked so hard for. But can you tell us the importance of listening to authorities when they do issue a mandatory evacuation?
Good point. Yes, if you're asked to evacuate, in fact, if you think that you might even be asked to evacuate, please evacuate. Stay tuned to your TV and your radio. Of course, the power's out up there, from what I understand. Be prepared to leave. Remove combustible things from your house, patio furniture, move it away. Leave a ladder out. Leave your garden hoses out, turn a light on in each room, take down any flammable drapes and curtains, move upholstered furniture away from your windows. Just be ready to evacuate. Take your small personal belongings. All the rest can be replaced, but your life can't be. And remember, you might become part of the problem instead of the solution. We're out there fighting the fire. Now we have to start making rescues. So if you're asked to evacuate, please do so.
Chief Sam DiGiovanna, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us this morning. We certainly appreciate your perspective. All right, welcome back. We're continuing to bring you this very important situation that's happening right now in two areas. Raging wildfires, one happening in Ventura County, actually all throughout Ventura County. Another happening in the Sylmar area. All right, welcome back. We're continuing. Terrace area. 31,000 acres have burned in Ventura. About 1,000 acres have burned in Sylmar, and that's over the past couple of hours.
And you're talking about all hands on deck in terms of firefighters. So much so, especially with the Thomas fire there in Ventura County, that the smaller firefighters, they're not even able to deal with those fires right now. They're dealing with the massive fires, especially the ones closest. Some are very near to downtown Ventura.
Right.
We've seen apartment buildings go up in flames. We've seen the Vista Del Mar Hospital go up in flames. According to fire authorities there, Ventura County firefighters, 150 structures minimum have burned. 183,000 people without power in the Ventura area, 83,000 people without power in the Santa Barbara area. They have been told some of you will be without power for days.
We want to go ahead and go to Captain Steve Kaufman. He's with Ventura County Fire. We have him on the phone right now. Captain, are you with us?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy morning to join us. Can you give us the latest on the situation in terms of what you're dealing with specifically?
Sure. Well, it's been a challenging night. Like you said, it's all hands on deck. We've been using, as fire engines come in from all over the state of California, we immediately put them to work. So they've been going to work. They've actively been engaged from the firefight since about 6:30 last night. Some of the things that we've been challenged with is we've had intermittent power outages in all areas of the fire. Some of them have been consistent the entire fire. Some of them we've gotten power back and it's gone back out. With the power outages, we've also had pumping stations that went down. So we had major water issues in multiple different areas of the fire that we've been trying to overcome. But all in all, we've been able to do some really good work. I can't tell you enough how much we appreciate the public heeding our evacuation warnings. We've seen more people at our evacuation centers than I've ever seen before in my career.
Hey,
so
Henry. How you
thank
doing?
you very much to the people.
Captain Kaufman, can you tell us where the worst of it is right now that you're aware of? If you had to pinpoint some of the more specific areas that are just seeing the worst of it, where would those spots be?
That would definitely be the Ventura City area, and it would be north of Poli, all along the frontage, the hills there. And it's basically bumped down into quite a number of structures in there. That's where some of those 150 structures that we talk about are located in.
So, and obviously the winds have been one of the toughest things for you guys to deal with. Are you finding, how are the wind conditions there right now?
They're very inconsistent, but our estimate is that the winds are going to pick up in intensity today. And so we're actually anticipating that and ordering appropriately. And then the other thing I need to clear up is last night we got reports that there was a fatality in a vehicle accident. And we had crews, once the fire passed that area, go in and they did a primary search of that entire road. They found an overturned vehicle and a dead dog, and they did not find any human remains. So the good news is that we couldn't find any fatalities.
So to be clear, associated with this fire, no loss of life, but lots of property damage.
That's correct. That's correct. And about 2 hours ago, we had one of our Ventura County battalion chiefs that was struck by a vehicle. He was transported to a local hospital, and I don't know the extent of his injuries at this point.
Okay, so one firefighter injured right now as a result of this fire, but as you mentioned, the good news is no fatalities so far. In terms of resources, you talked about going into other areas, having other firefighters who are going to be helping you right now. How many firefighters right now are fighting this fire, and how many do you expect to kind of have throughout the morning? Because we are getting some reports of people saying we don't see firefighters in our area, but we are seeing flames. And obviously it's tough to deal with this when you've got so many different areas affected.
Correct. So I can answer that a little bit. So we anticipate that we have about 1,000 firefighters boots on the ground right now. But the thing is that we literally have miles upon miles of fire line. And so when you spread those fire engines out over the, 20 or 30 miles of fire line, maybe even more than that, it probably does look like there's no fire engines out there. We've initiated the California Master Mutual Aid Plan, and we have fire engines coming to help us from all over the state of California, just like we go out and help them when there's fires up north. So as the fire engines get here, they're literally not going to rest. They're going to work immediately.
Hey, Chief, earlier you mentioned you were proud of the people who took your orders to evacuate seriously. Where are you telling people to go? We've listed some of those centers earlier, but can you reiterate for the folks who are listening, where do you go if you've been evacuated?
Absolutely. So we have an evacuation center set up at Nordhoff High School in Ojai, and then we have an evacuation center set up at the Ventura County Fairgrounds. At the fairgrounds, they're also able to accommodate animals. So if people bring animals to the fairgrounds, they have facilities to accommodate those animals.
And can you give us once again an update on the power outage situation in terms of how many people are affected? We were hearing reports, folks in Santa Barbara, all the way down to Camarillo, the Oxnard area being affected. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Yeah, so your numbers were the first time I heard numbers on the power outage. So you probably have a better number than I do.
And Captain, another question before we let you go. We want to thank you for helping us with this. As you continue to fight this, you probably have become aware of the Creek Fire burning in L.A. County. Now, I know that's many miles away, but when you mentioned the California Mutual Aid Plan, does that impact your ability to get firefighters if they're also needed in L.A. County?
Well, both fires compete for the same resources, right? And so as their resources come in, they actually triage and decide where those resources go first. I do know that prior to the Creek Fire starting, we had a bunch of outstanding orders. So there's definitely a little bit of a competition. I don't know any details on the Creek Fire, but it's based on the threat to the community.
Right.
Is how the fires get prioritized.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Captain Steve Kaufman, for taking the time out of this busy morning to talk to us. We actually are going to go over to our Mark Kono, who is live in Sky 5 over that Creek Fire. 1,000 acres burning so far in this Lake Terrace area. Mark, what's the latest?
It is the Lakeview Terrace area here just north of the 210 freeway where this fire broke out about 2 hours ago here. Still, by last count, 8 helicopters from the LA County Fire Department are actively working to at least slow the progress of this fire here. Now, where we are looking here is going to be right about the center of the fire here, right near or just north of the 210 freeway at Osborne here, where this fire is burning incredibly fast. A wind-driven brush fire here that is blowing a lot of smoke and embers into the San Fernando Valley here. Now, as we widen out the shot and move it to the left, like Rich Prickett, our Sky 5 photographer, is doing, that to the left is going to be the western flank of the fire here, the northwestern flank of the fire, and that is going to be near Lopez Canyon Road over just beyond that, over towards McClay, where we understand structure protection teams are being moved into place here. Now, a lot of people who live in that area are going to be familiar with the Glen Haven Memorial Park here. The fire is working over in that direction here, so you want to be prepared and evacuate should the need arise here. That is going to be kind of the northwestern flank of this Creek Fire here. We're going to move it a little bit to the center here, where a lot of that fire activity is taking place. A lot of the staging is right there that you see right at the 210 freeway at Osborne, and that is where a lot of the staging of the resources is taking place here. This fire breaking out about 2 hours ago, coming up on about 1,000 acres by last count here. So this is burning about a mile north of the 210 freeway, east to west, probably looking at something on the scale of 3 to 5 miles left to right here. So between McClay, Lopez Canyon, and moving east, we're talking about over towards Little Tahunga Canyon Road, and you can see a very active firefight. Now, we understand that there may have been people trapped on the backside of the flames there, on the backside of the smoke, where the access might have been cut off because some of those homes are only accessible via some of the fire trails that are dotting the hillside there. So again, they are working to get to a lot of the homes, a lot of the residences that might be in the fire's path, but this is a very fast-moving structure fire, a very fast-moving wind-driven fire here burning in Lakeview Terrace. Guys, let me send it back down to you.
All right. Mark Kono, above the creek fire, right there in the Lakeview Terrace area, also near Hanson Dam. Let's now talk to Ginger. Ginger, this is impacting traffic.
It is greatly impacting traffic. And I just want to mention really quick, because there is an additional closure that is now coming up that people are asked to stay away from Plaza Rita Canyon, Sand Canyon Road. And that's because, of course, fire crews trying to get to the scene. But one thing that we want to make sure that everyone is well aware of, and I'm actually even sending an email to people who work here. If you come out of Santa Clarita, Simi Valley, San Fernando Mission, I'm just going to talk over the great pictures coming from our team in Sky 5. Those spots, you travel along the 118. The 405, the 5 freeway, those will all be impacted because of the smoke and ash. So, you know, when you drive and you have areas of reduced visibility due to fog, you have to treat it the same way. You follow the car closely in front of you. You put on those, your headlights are always on, of course. The visibility is reduced that people are saying they cannot see very far in front of them. And all of a sudden, like the 5 at Osborne, here comes the exit. All of a sudden, everything starts to open up. But basically what we're seeing is people are saying reduced visibility due to the smoke and the ash. Again, the 118, the 405, the 5, the 210 freeways. So if you're coming out of those areas that will be impacted by the fire and the smoke, you need to give yourself extra time, especially if you have immediate plans to get onto the roadway. And of course, our team in Sky 5 widening out the shot so we can see some of those spots that we're talking about. We also called the CHP for now. Nothing on the 210 freeway in terms of on and off ramps are closed, but that is a situation that is also fluid. If they need to, the fire department says we need to close those on and off ramps, they will do that, and sometimes they'll keep them open until they get that word that the need is there. We know that our Wendy Birch is basically staged at Foothill Boulevard and Osborne Street. So let me just give you some quick alternates. I like to give alternates far away from the location of the closures, but these are the ones that will run parallel and will help you, okay? So, you know, you can always take, instead of taking, say, Osborne Street, a major thoroughfare, Van Nuys Boulevard, Paxton Street, and then instead of taking, say, Foothill Boulevard, then you also have the option of Glen Oaks. I've taken Glen Oaks myself many times. It is a good alternate, but if you use them and you travel through these areas, then you need to leave early, and that is an important factor, because not only will some of those roads end up being closed or impacted, a lot of volume being built on those roads, we also are seeing that reduced visibility, and that is a huge factor. And our friends coming out of Van Nuys as well, that's another spot where you need to know. And we want to mention too, because of the Thomas fire, we have those closures on the 150. And so far, that's the only thing that we have closures on. I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Ginger, thank you for that. We want to go over to Henry now, get the latest on these wind conditions that are fueling these flames.
Yeah, and Ventura County, LA County, we knew these would be two areas where the winds would be the strongest and the most fierce, and we're seeing that out there. This is a live shot from the Thomas fire, by the way. Boy, you can see the intensity of the flames. So we have the winds, and we also have the extremely dry conditions. So firefighters' worst nightmare, and then we'll see some warmer conditions over the next couple of days. What you need to know, though, as we head through the morning hours, the winds will actually get stronger. So if you're in an area where the winds have been strong, as the sun comes up through about the noon hour, we anticipate the winds not only to be stronger than what we have experienced, but they will become extremely shifty as we start to warm the atmosphere from the ground up. So the winds will be quite difficult for firefighters. So if you live in an area where the fire is threatening you, please listen to firefighters. And even though you may see that a fire is moving away from your area, when those winds turn, they can quickly come back the other direction. So everybody needs to make sure they're doing the proper precautions. Also, for those of you not affected by fires, you will see temperatures today that will generally be in the 70s. So if you are thinking about getting off to work, getting the kids off to school, you are looking at a fairly decent day, but the winds will be an issue. And for those of you through the Inland Empire in Orange County, when the sun comes up, we will see more of those winds fanning out to other areas. So the winds will get stronger and more widespread throughout Southern California, at least through the afternoon. We'll catch a little bit of a break. They'll die down tonight through tomorrow, become more breezy, and then we anticipate the winds to pick up overnight Wednesday into Thursday again. We could see varying degrees of winds lasting all the way into Saturday. So this is going to be one of those dangerous situations for the rest of the week. But first things first, let's get through the morning.
News out of Ventura County. Huge fire continuing to burn there. Lauren Lister on the ground. What are we looking at now, Lauren?
Megan, you are looking at an up-close view of just one of the many areas in this neighborhood that has gone up in flames. This is just one small portion of an entire apartment complex that has been burning all morning long. Firefighters in this neighborhood from multiple crews have been hitting it with water. For this particular structure, they tell me at this point, the goal is to keep the fire from spreading with the wind to the other properties that neighbor it. There you can see the fire hose that is stretching up into the furthest reaches of this apartment complex to those upper levels, which is again where the fire is burning in another portion of the apartments. These are the Harbor View apartments on Kalorama Street. Chris and Megan, I want to point something out. Earlier in your show, you were speaking with a fire official, and you were asking him, Chris, where is the worst of the destruction right now? He said in the area north of Poli Street in Ventura City. That's where we are. That's this neighborhood. We are in the neighborhood north of Poli, where this is just one of the apartment complexes that we have been watching burn since we arrived here at about 3:30 a.m. We can show you some more of them right now, just across the street. Up those hills, which you can see the fire's already torn through. There's still some areas smoldering. There are more structures that are currently engulfed in flames at this hour. And then further down the block, yet another structure burning. I'm told this was an apartment complex. And then just next to it, a home that is not on fire. You can't see it from here. It is very, very dark. I want to point out before I go to this this interview with this man, what you, Chris and Megan, have been talking about earlier in your show with fire officials, just how important it is to heed those mandatory evacuations when you get them. Firefighters give them for a reason. It is for the safety of all the residents. They don't want to be needing to save people from the flames. They want them to get out. That said, some people do stay behind, including Adam Bushy, who we spoke to, who stayed to protect his home.
They're getting the house. We're just trying to get all the brush and everything next to it, so he doesn't spread even farther towards the houses. That house over there, that was the main thing.
So he and his father decided to stay and hose down their property to try to keep the flames away despite the dangers and the risks. They tell me that it was around midnight that they saw their neighbors' apartments go up in flames, and they saw the fire. They say, I want to show them, Sam, rush through these hills, came right through here and then up into the properties. This is just one of the areas this fire has touched, this fire that exploded from 6:30 yesterday evening to today to a 31,000 acre fire, 27,000 people evacuated, one firefighter injured, one person died. It was some automobile related death within the perimeter of the fire. That is 0% contained, and we know the winds are picking up, and fire officials expect the fire to grow or to become more intensified by those winds. We will continue to follow. We're going to go into another area and bring you a different vantage point of what's going on in the latest with this Thomas fire. For now, though, Chris and Megan, that's the latest, and I'll send it back to you.
All right. Lauren, thank you. In Santa Paula, we have Elizabeth Espinosa. That's one of the other areas that's greatly impacted this. Elizabeth, we can see the flames over your right shoulder there. What are you experiencing? What are you seeing?
Yeah, look at that. Oh, my God. Oh, Chris, Megan, everybody, good morning. This is really awful, and it really breaks my heart because, you know, we've covered so many of these fires. I feel like I just left one, which is in Orange County, as you know. We lost structures there, and you've got these residents now who are displaced. And I think what's scariest is that you don't have air support right now. We don't have a containment line. And here in Santa Paula, in fact, as we drove up, I should mention, we are off of Main Street and Peck. Let me show you the ridge line here, all the flames. It's so close to our location here, and this is filled with homes and residents. Sir, you've lived out here for how long?
I lived out here for 25 years.
Where are you? Your area?
My area is off Ojai Road. It's I live on off of Frontage Street, Gatewood Lane in Ojai Road, right by the river bottom. We were told to evacuate like about 2:30 in the morning. They just told us grab your bags and go. and it was pretty chaotic in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
Real
well,
chaotic.
the winds are still powerful, and not as
Yes.
powerful as overnight, but again, when the sun goes up is always the issue because the winds pick back up, and we're seeing that this is what's driving this Thomas fire. Thank you. Do not leave. Let me talk to your neighbors here. Where do you live? What are your names? Good morning, and I'm sorry that you're displaced.
My name is Brian Welch, and my wife Christina.
Yes.
We live right on Ojai Road, about 2 miles away from where the fire originally started.
Okay.
And this is the worst I've ever seen. I've lived here for 52 years, and this is the worst fire I've ever seen here.
And I know some folks are going to Nordhoff High School. Let me show you the flames just again. But again, we will certainly keep you posted out here about evacuations and where folks can go as soon as we learn more information. That's the very latest. Back to you in the studio.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Elizabeth. We want to now go over to the other fire that we've been bringing you live all morning long, the Creek Fire near Lakeview Terrace area. Wendy Birch is on the ground there with the latest information. Wendy.
Hi, everybody. The Creek Fire has gone from bad to worse. We just wanted to come up just a little bit closer to the flames. We didn't have to drive more than a half a mile, and we're in a situation right now. I know it looks foggy behind me. This is thick, dense smoke. If it was to lift even a little bit, you would see flames over there onto my right, to my left, and behind. All of these cars you see coming out are people evacuating from this Creek Fire. Sir, do you mind if I speak to you for a minute? It is so hard to breathe out here. It's so hard to see clearly. Do you mind lifting that for just one moment? You live in this area. What did you see, and when did you know that this was moving quick?
About half an hour ago.
Okay.
And I just came outside, looked out the window, and I noticed this fire, and I put on my respirator right away.
Now, you guys are under what we understand is a mandatory evacuation. Has anyone come by your house and told you you needed to leave right now?
No, they have not.
Okay. But what is it that you have seen? I mean, I've seen these flames behind us popping up sometimes 10, 20 feet.
Oh, yes, I have. I've seen the same.
Have you seen a fire like this in this neighborhood before?
Once before with the Sayer fire.
The Sayer, I remember that one very
yes.
well, very well.
Yes, I've seen that before. It got this mountain as well.
Are you going to stay in place? I mean, you've got the respirator, you live very close. What is your plan?
Now I'm going to stay because it looks like it's dying down, but who knows at this point. It could get bigger because of all the winds or not.
Well, the smoke is lifting behind us a little bit. You can see that we've got the flames burning up here. I'm on Fenton Avenue. Again, we're trying to get a good handle on this fire. I know Sky 5 flew a little earlier. I'm sorry, I'm getting some feedback in my ear. Sky 5 was up a little earlier. I believe we have some aerial video we can show you as well. This was shot about, I think, 15 minutes ago. Now, the first reports of this fire came out shortly after 3 a.m. this morning. It was reported at 100 acres. It quickly grew to 1,000, but with these winds kicking up, and I can tell you, these feel like sustained winds of about 30 miles an hour, but I've had some gusts that have literally blown me off my feet out here. It's difficult to breathe. I can tell you that we have seen not just dozens, but it feels like 100 or so fire trucks from LA County, but also from other jurisdictions as well. You know, we talked about this yesterday with those Santa Ana winds. The strike teams were in place. They moved resources where they needed to be. So there were a number of fire engine trucks, water tenders here. Speaking of the fire as well, the helicopters, the air dropping helicopters have been in place, although I have not heard or seen them in the last half hour. That may be because of the winds. That may be just because of how thick and dense this smoke is. But I can tell you, this fire is definitely on the move. As we come back out here live, you see that fire is getting precariously close to that wall. Now, that wall will act as a natural barrier for a moment, but there were a lot of cars that are parked there. And then just to the right is this entire apartment complex. We have seen people hurriedly evacuate. We've also seen people just sort of shutter in place and stay in place. But I can tell you it is difficult to breathe out here. The air is thick with smoke and soot. This fire is burning right now in the Sylmar Tahunga area. Hanson Dam is where they have the command post set up. I just drove past that one, and I can tell you that there were probably about 100 firefighting trucks already parked there, waiting for orders as to where to be staged. Now, we've got hot spots popping up all over throughout here. The picture that we're showing the camera really doesn't paint the scene here when you consider that we are blocked because the smoke is so thick right now. It's so thick, it's so hard to breathe, and the winds just continue to blow. We can only hope that Mother Nature cooperates because this fire doesn't seem to be laying down anytime soon, and these winds keep going as well. We'll keep you updated. I'm going to try to position ourselves the best we can so we can stay safe, but we can still give you the information that you need. And for right now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Right. Poor Wendy, also fighting laryngitis. We appreciate your live update right there. Want to also bring you the latest information we're getting here. Mandatory evacuation orders happening for Lopez Canyon, Cagle Canyon, and Little Tahunga residents. East and the west side are being forced to evacuate right now.
And that's the Creek Fire.
Right.
That's the Creek Fire. What we're actually seeing right now, I think we're going back to the Thomas Fire, which is targeting many parts of actual Ventura. So we're going to take a break. Breaking news: 2 massive wildfires burning in Southern California right now. The Creek Fire erupting and spreading. That's just hours ago in the Lakeview Terrace area near Sunland, Tahunga. Also in Ventura County, the Thomas Fire.
In Ventura, the Thomas Fire breaking out last night, burned hundreds of structures, forced tens of thousands to evacuate. We're told one firefighter has been injured so far. We're beginning, though, with new details on that Creek Fire that started just a couple hours ago.
Yeah, Aaron Myers is at one of the neighborhood areas threatened by the fire. Aaron.
Good morning, you guys. We are here in Sylmar on Alta Vista Road, and you can see the smoke, the flames. This whole area is just covered with this smoke. You can't even really see very well, very intense. Now, I know this area has not been evacuated just yet, but we have seen mandatory evacuations taking place. I've talked to residents here who have been on their way out. They say they haven't seen anything like this in quite some time. Very scary situation. There are fire crews here in the neighborhood keeping an eye on everything. There is a helicopter doing water drops. We actually had some of the water drop on top of us, so they are on top of this, but very frightening with how close this is to the homes. And I'm here with Robbie, who lives in this neighborhood. Tell us when you first saw all of this start.
I woke up about, well, I thought it was dawn, and it was a pink, orange kind of sunrise. I thought, well, that's odd. And then I realized that's not the sunrise. I looked at my watch, and it was about 3:45. And just before waking everyone up, just watched it. Didn't see any flames yet, but it just kept getting, the glow just kept growing and expanding. And then we realized it was fire. One of the neighbors called, and then we started packing some things up, and it's moved incredibly fast. Just dropping down.
Yeah, in the time we've been here, we've seen the wind change directions, and we've had really powerful gusts. What are your plans with your family today?
Right now, we're going down to the church in Burbank where I serve, and there's a parsonage there, hopefully just for the morning. But we've packed up a lot of things, valuables, things like that, and we're heading down there. And seeing the fire crews here gives me hope. We are anxious, but we're praying and hoping that for the best.
And then, have you seen anything like this yet? And you've been here for 4 years, you told me.
No, we haven't. This ridge here has not burned since we've lived here. Last summer, the back ridge towards Santa Clarita, that fire, the sand fire, it came over just a tad, but they were able to get that. But this is right in our backyard.
Well, thank you very much, Robbie. Please be safe, and thank you for talking to us. And we will send it back to you. We are going to see if we can get any updates on the evacuations in this area. I will send it back to you in the studio.
Aaron Myers, thank you for that. We want to now go over to the Creek Fire, which started burning just a couple hours ago. Our Wendy Birch on the scene with the latest there. Wendy.
Okay, it sounds like Wendy's having a tough time either understanding that or hearing us and understanding that she's on, but these are her images. Where she staged, she had fire down the street on one structure, and then she was mentioning it looked like fog. It's actually smoke and ash that's actually come there. You can see the fire. So it sounds like the photographer can hear me because he adjusted his image and he's zooming into the structure that was on fire. Yeah, that's right. And I think Wendy, who's battling a bit of laryngitis, maybe she's
gathering more information.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll check back in with Wendy coming up shortly. We can keep this picture and bring Henry in to talk about these wind conditions that are expected to pick up very shortly.
And just based on the flow of cars this early in the morning, these are obviously people that are evacuating, taking heed with what firefighters are, I'm assuming so. With what firefighters are saying. You know, here's the situation with the winds. We know the winds have been extremely strong. And those of you in through LA and Ventura County, it started yesterday. We told you all day yesterday throughout the morning and the afternoon that the winds were coming and they would be quite strong in this area and then fan out to Orange County and the Inland Empire as we got to today and through the morning. So Ventura, LA County, strong winds. intense high wind warning. As the sun comes up, the winds are actually going to get stronger. I know that this is not news that you want to hear, but that is in fact what's going to happen. It's also going to fan out to other areas. We're going to see these stronger heavy gusts move in through Orange County, the Inland Empire. Those of you through parts of the Inland Empire in Orange County, I know you've already had extremely strong winds overnight, but it's going to get stronger and it's going to affect more areas. So we're starting to see more areas from Santa Barbara and specifically Ventura down to Riverside County and even into San Diego County, now all experiencing very strong winds out of the foothills. It'll be dry. When the sun comes up, the winds will be extremely shifty. That'll make things extremely difficult. So I think concerns, unfortunately, will get worse before they get better. Very strong winds this morning, tapering off a little bit tonight through tomorrow for a little bit of a break.
All right, Henry, thank you very much. We want to go back out now to Elizabeth Espinosa. She's been live on the ground in the Santa Paula area with talking to evacuated residents there. You can see the wind picking up around you. Elizabeth, what's the latest?
Yeah. No, it's pretty bad out here, actually. We're off of Main and Peck. There's a gust coming through right now. Let me show you the fire, because that ridge you're looking at, there are a number of homes, high-end homes, I'm told, million-dollar homes. But generally, I mean, when you think of Santa Paula, it is a more working-class community, an agricultural town, tons of orchards, and there is a lot of brush, unfortunately, out here that has not burned for years. And so being at this Circle K gas station, which seems to be really busy right now with people trying to fill up as much as possible, we have run into a number of people who are here with their belongings and really just trying to figure out their situation. This family here left their home overnight. They've got their dog in the back. Good morning. And again, I know we started talking to you a little bit ago, but your situation, your home, how far is it from this location?
About a mile or so.
It's about 2 miles. And you have everything?
Everything that we can need and that we can get, yeah.
Yeah. And no word. I mean, we know that you could go to Ventura County Fairgrounds or also a Nordoff, right?
Yeah.
High for, some support and as an evacuation center.
Yeah, we can go there if we need. We also have family here in town and friends that have opened their doors to us. When we left, it was literally across the street from us.
Wow.
So, and it was just getting faster and faster.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're hearing from Ventura County Fire that, the winds are picking up again. So this does not spell good news, unfortunately, for us. In fact, just looking at the glow, it has really grown since we arrived here about, I don't even know, 35 minutes ago or so. So your game plan is to really stay put and see what else and pray for the best for your home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Just pray best. My mother-in-law's lived there for, how long has Mom lived there?
Quite a bit.
40-some years.
40-some years. So it's a house. It's our home. And we just pray that it's saved. We hosed it down as much as we could and just waited till the end to get out. We got my mother-in-law out. We got my son out. Went back to get what we can and made it out.
And I know, thank you. We heard good luck, and we'll be praying for your, for your home and your family. It's so sad, Megan and Chris. I actually was talking to a woman who had just walked out of the Circle K. Let's show them the flames, Tom, over here, just so they see all the wind. And this woman was telling me that she had tears in her eyes. She said, well, I just moved to California from Texas, and with the hurricanes there, I just feel like I can't get away from all of this disaster. And as you can imagine, she's worried about her livelihood, all her belongings. Good morning. Can we speak to you? Are you guys, I see you've got some stuff in the back. Did you evacuate? You ready to?
Well, we're ready to go at any time because it's real close.
Yeah, and it's actually quite cold out here too.
Yes, it is. A lot of wind, and it's just a shame, waking up to this.
Yeah. A lot of people I've talked to this morning here say they haven't slept.
Well, we haven't either. We're just watching the fire, see how close it can, and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
A lot of people are. It's a sad morning.
I know. It is hard. It is hard. Thank you so much. And I pray for you as well that everything turns out okay. I mean, how do you prepare for something like this? It's always the same heartbreaking situation that, what do you do? So let me just show you here at the Circle K. Again, we're at Peck Road and Main. A lot of people here, getting ready, I'm sure gassing up, because one family I spoke to said they were actually heading out to Bakersfield, didn't want to stay here. Good morning. I see you got a blanket on. Are you ready to go? I mean, have you evacuated?
¿Habla español?
Oh, habla español, sí. ¿Está listo para evacuar? Are you ready to evacuate?
La verdad no.
Not really?
¿Se va a evacuar?
They may possibly, she's asking if their, evacuation orders are in place. Posiblemente in certain areas. Yes, thank you, mucha suerte, okay? So again, a lot of people still here trying to figure out the situation, and we are kind of expecting to see maybe some sheriffs around here so they can give some folks instruction, because if you look across the way here, Chris and Megan, the wind's picking up. That's the very latest. In Santa Paula, Elizabeth Espinosa, back to you in the studio.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you for that. We want to go back out to Wendy Birch, who is live on the ground in Sylmar with the latest on the Creek Fire. Wendy.
Hi, good morning. Well, I'm just getting this. This is the latest mandatory evacuations. We're in a unified command situation right now for the Creek Fire. Per IC, mandatory evacuations, Sayre to northwest, 118 freeway to south, and Little Tahunga. Now, I know that seems very cryptic, but if you're in this area, that does make some sense to you. Basically, anywhere where you can see this smoke and feel this smoke, because you can actually feel it. It is so thick in the air. It's time for you to get out. We've seen a lot of people leaving this area in a hurry. I know it just looks thick and dense around me, and that's exactly what we're experiencing right now. It's hard to breathe here in this area. This fire started very early this morning, around 3 a.m. We're assuming it was a wind-driven fire, although at this point we don't have any real cause. It quickly spread to at least 1,000 acres, but of course we don't have any really good mapping yet because we haven't seen daybreak. But when that happens, of course, they'll get some aerial views. Speaking of aerial views, they had been using water dropping helicopters minutes to an hour, but we do know that they are on standby. They're in this area and they're ready to make those drops. Now, we're right near this apartment complex, which we believe has been evacuated for the most part. I took a drive around the block and it looks like this area has pretty much cleared out within the last 15 minutes, but you can see a number of hot spots all the way around. This fire continues to be wind driven. We have had some severe gusts. When they come up, they are so strong they nearly knock you off your feet. That is what causes firefighters the most problems, because those gusts come up and an ember that may be on a hot spot, which is in an uninhabited area, can blow another 50 or 60 feet and land on top of a roof. That is why we have so many units right now in structure protection. Again, when these Santa Ana winds came out yesterday and started, the National Weather Service put on a red flag warning, and LA County then put their strike teams in place into the areas that they knew were fire prone, including this area in the Sunland, Tahunga, Lake Terrace area. As we come back out here live, you'll see some of the hot spots popping up behind, some people walking around on cell phones trying to determine where they are, whether they need to leave. We'll try to keep you updated as much as we can. We have another crew at the command post. Information is slow coming, but we can just tell you from where we are, as we like to say, our boots on the ground, we can tell you that this area is under these mandatory evacuations. And if you live in this area, it's in your best interest to get out. We also know that they're working very diligently to get out some of the horses. There's a number of horse properties back here in the higher country and along the benches of these foothills. We'll keep you updated. For right now, that is the very latest on the Creek Fire. We believe, although this is not confirmed, it is at least 1,000 acres and is growing. But for right now, that's the very latest, and I'm going to send it back to you.
Wendy Birch, thank you so much for that. We now want to go back out to Ventura County. Mark Kono is above this fire that we've been talking about since, about 6:30 or so last night, the Thomas Fire. Mark, unbelievable pictures.
Have a look at what we're seeing here from Sky 5 HD. These are structures and likely homes without any direct confirmation. It certainly looks like homes that are on fire here in Ventura, where the Thomas Fire has slowly made a march westbound in its growth up to 31,000 acres, as was last reported here. Now, Lauren Lister on the ground has been giving us great information, as has Elizabeth Espinosa here. But this is going to be in Ventura. I'll give you the rough area here. This is going to be north of Foothill Road, between Kimball and Victoria Avenue. It looks to us, and again, without any direct confirmation here, it looks like a whole neighborhood might have been wiped out by some fire here. Certainly several structures. We have fire department protection in place. However, it is unfortunate to see that several structures, many structures in fact, are going up in flames even as we speak. Again, this is north of Foothill Road between Victoria and Kimball. So this fire is well into Ventura, the city of Ventura at this point. Now, we are along the 101 corridor here, looking off to the north here, again, along the fire lines. If we widen out the shot, it's going to be a lot of darkness here. There is a large scale blackout here. I think I heard on the order of something over 150,000 homes affected by this fire here in terms of power outage, and that is going to be the case. The 126 freeway just now coming into view here. We can swing that off to the right, in other words, to the east over towards Santa Paula here, and you really get a scale of how large this fire is. Look at all that darkness there. A major blackout north of the 126 as well as south of the 126. You see just to the right of center, all those headlights coming at us. That is going to be the westbound side of the 126, but again, Ventura under siege with this Thomas fire. Guys, that is the update from overhead. Let me send it back down to you in Hollywood.
All right, Marcono. And as we're looking at this image, and we saw to the right of our screen, so screen right, the Santa Paula area he just showed us, that fire line is 16 miles away from downtown Ventura, according to the map that we just checked. So you're talking about an extremely lengthy fire line. More than 30,000 acres have burned as a result of this Thomas fire. Lauren Lister, you're live in front of a home that's burning, correct?
Good morning, Chris and Megan. I hope you can see this shot. We want to warn you, we may have to leave quickly. We're going to make this quick because this is a fast-moving situation. We were in an area that was clear where those apartments were burning. You travel further on Poli, which turns into Foothill. North of Foothill, this might be some of the area that Marcono was talking about, and it becomes a lot smokier. It becomes a lot windier. As you can see, there are embers flying all over the place. Visibility is poor, and homes are burning. Look at this one. You can just see this home completely engulfed in flames. This is just down the street, a few miles, a few minutes. Wow, take a look at the structure just collapsing. This is a few miles from where we were just minutes ago in the last hour, where those apartments were on fire. The area there, not quite as smoky, not nearly as smoky as this, nor as windy. Down here, it's more of an inferno. Definitely low visibility, definitely higher winds, much smokier. We don't see quite as many fire crews right where we are. There are a few. We didn't want to travel further because it gets further away from a good exit route that we know of, and also we want to stay by where there's fire crews, but we want to show you just how destructive this fire is and just how dangerous the conditions are. So when they tell you to evacuate, if you're in this area and you have mandatory evacuations, here's just one reason to take them seriously, because look at what this can turn into quickly. We know that 150 structures have been destroyed. Clearly, this is one of them. We've shown you other apartment complexes as well that we've watched over the last few hours burn to the ground as firefighters around the clock, 500 of them at least, are trying to put out this blaze that has burned 31,000 acres at least before the sun has even risen, and we're going on nearly 12 hours from when this all started. We wanted to just give you that quick update. We're going to keep monitoring the situation and bring you the latest, but for now, Chris and Megan, I will send it back to you.
Hey, Lauren, people are watching this. They want to know exactly where you are. You mentioned it. Can you again give us an idea of where you are right now?
Absolutely. So I am on Foothill. This is the north side of the street. The closest cross streets to me, and this is in Ventura, are Skyline Road, and then on the other side, Day Road. And what's interesting is it gets worse. The situation deteriorates quickly along this road, because driving from where we were on Poli, which turns into Foothill, and this is the area that north of this is evacuated, on the north side of the street, seems like what you're looking at. Further down the road, where it's not as smoky, not as bad on the south side of the street, there are neighbors that presumably haven't been evacuated that are out monitoring the situation, looking around, keeping their eye out. Just a stone's throw away, there is destruction like this. So that is where we are, Chris, to answer your question.
Lauren, thank you so much for that.
Hey,
we'll
Megan.
let you continue to monitor the situation from the ground. As we saw from Marcono's pictures overhead, it's just a spotty situation. You got one fire here, a couple blocks down the road, you got another fire, a couple blocks down there, you got another one happening. We want to give you an idea, if you're just waking up, of some school closures that are happening. Santa Paula area, Unified, Ventura Unified, Ojai, Oxnard, Wainimi. All of those school districts will be closed today. We want to go now over to the Creek Fire. That's another fire we're continuing to monitor this morning. That fire started just a couple of hours ago near Sylmar. Erin Myers on the ground. She's in one of the neighborhoods being threatened. Erin.
Good morning. We are in Sylmar. We're on Harding Street via San Ricardo, and you can see just how close this fire is getting. It has actually made its way to Harding Street now. When we got here, this was just voluntary evacuations. They have now made this area mandatory evacuations. People are getting out. The wind here is very, very strong. It has been changing directions. You can't really tell what is going on from moment to moment. It just changes so quickly. There's ash, there's smoke. We actually had to move out of the neighborhood we were in because it was just too much. We were getting ash blown on us. They were doing helicopter drops throughout the area as well. But once again, they are having everyone in this area evacuate now. It's just gotten so much worse since we've been here. You can see the helicopter up there in the sky. If you can even see it, the smoke is so bad right now. But if you do live in this area in Sylmar, they are asking you to get out. This is mandatory now. The flames, the smoke, just very, very strong. In all my years at KTLA, it's been now nearly 5. I've never had to put on the goggles, and it's very bad today. So if you do live in this area, please get out. They are mandatory evacuations. We just saw officers going through the neighborhoods on their loudspeakers telling everyone to get out. We will find out more information as we get it, but right now, very stressful situation here for residents. I will send it back to you as we continue to monitor this creek fire.
Watching the KTLA 5 Morning News, and we have updates now on the 2 major fires burning right now in Southern California. We begin on the left side of your screen with the Creek Fire. It's at 1,000 acres. It is burning in the Sunland, Tahunga, Sylmar area. You might know it more for the Hanson Dam area, although really the Hanson Dam is on the south side of the 210. This is burning more into the foothills north of the 210. Mandatory evacuations for Lopez Canyon, Cagle Canyon, and Little Tahunga currently in effect.
All right, now over to the Thomas fire. Looking at that, those pictures on the right of your screen, 31,000 acres have burned so far. That's from Santa Paula to Ventura. We're talking a miles and miles stretch of area. Mandatory evacuations there for about 27,000 residents. More than 260,000 households are without power this morning as well. School has been canceled for Ventura Unified School District, Santa Paula Unified, and the Oxnard and Part Hueneme school districts, as well as Ojai.
Now, we have live reports coming up from both locations momentarily, but first, all of this wind-driven. Henry DeCarlo standing by with the latest.
Yeah, I am getting the latest, too. And all computer models suggesting the winds are actually going to strengthen now that the sun is up. So over the next couple of hours, we will actually see these windy conditions get worse. So that is not good news there, and also very shifty. Most of the reports coming out of some of those higher elevation areas in through LA and Ventura County have seen gusts upwards of 50 to 70 miles per hour. Closer to the valley locations towards the coast, a lot of those gusts have been coming in about 35 to 40. Now Orange County, as the sun comes up, it's been very windy in places like Yorba Linda, Brea, Anaheim Hills, also in through the Inland Empire, Ontario, in through Chino, where we've seen about 40-mile-per-hour gusts. Your winds are going to pick up as well, and the winds are going to fan out all the way down into San Diego County. So as we take you out live, a couple of things that you need to know. The winds will actually get worse as far as the strength over the next couple of hours. They will become very shifty, change directions. Listen to firefighters. Even though the fire may be traveling away from you, winds could shift at any time. So start planning, take precaution, know what you need to do in case you are ready for an evacuation, and make sure that you're taking plenty of precautions. But you could see the winds, the dry conditions, extremely dangerous for us. The good news, once we get to the noon hour into the afternoon, the winds will start to diminish, taper off a little bit. We'll catch a break through tomorrow, and then tomorrow night through Thursday, get ready. The winds are coming back again. But Ginger, these are devastating images to look at here, as or Megan and Chris will send it over to you.